All right. My name is Pawan. Thank you everybody for joining us for the whiteboard.chat beginner webinar. This is the agenda for today. We are going to demonstrate you all of the basic features to get started with whiteboard.chat. How do you use them? We'll invite you to have a live experience of whiteboard.chat with us. And then at any time, if you have questions, please feel free to type them on the Zoom chat and we'll answer them as we go along. We also stay 30 minutes past the top of the hour to have questions if you want to interact with us, or if you haven't answered any questions, we stay 30 minutes past the top of the hour. So after we finish the webinar and all the material. Where does whiteboard.chat fit in the virtual class ecosystem? It's primarily an observability and engagement platform. It works really well with the different communication tools out there like Teams, Zoom, and Meet. And it integrates really nicely with the LMS systems as well. You can embed it in Canvas. We just recently added a button to post assignments into Google Classroom created with whiteboard.chat, and it works. Teachers use it with Schoology as well and other LMSs out there. But this is the main feature or the marquee feature behind whiteboard.chat that allows the teacher to create a board, a template board, and distribute it out to students. Each of the students gets their own copy of that board, and the teachers can observe them live as they're working through the lesson, right? And then you can watch the whole class at the same time. One teacher just told us that even when they were physically present in the same class, the teacher doesn't have the ability to watch all the students at the same time, only some of them where you're walking around. But here you can watch everybody where they're struggling, where they're doing well, even the quiet ones you can observe, right? So, and then you can engage with them on one-on-one basis. You can join their board, guide them. You can even create small groups and observe the small groups as they're working in their assignments. It's whiteboard.chat is growing exponentially. It's every week it grows up and up and up. So yeah, it's a fairly new platform. It's less than 6 months old. We recently crossed about 1.5 million users all around the world. It's used all around the world, and the daily is about 70,000 users use it every day from around the world. Again, whiteboard.chat is a free platform. We do not charge any money from it. It's completely built on suggestions we receive from teachers. So teachers tell us what to do, and we just keep implementing those features on almost a daily basis. If you follow us on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, you'll see the progress, and we welcome feedback. Like I said, this is completely based on feedback that we receive from teachers. So either you can email us, or there's a very nice group on Facebook called Teachers Using Whiteboard.chat. Sid will post a link to it in the Zoom chat. If you like Whiteboard and you want to interact with fellow teachers or with us, I recommend you join that group. We are also on Instagram and Twitter if you want to follow us there. And we have a YouTube channel as well, which has a lot of videos where we'll post this video as well at the end of the session. So that said, let me get started. So whiteboard.chat is a browser-based platform. So it works on the browser. So it works across a varied set of devices. It works on PCs, Macs, Chromebooks, iPads. Even though the smartphone screens are small, but in some parts of the world, people do use it on smartphones too. Student privacy and like teacher privacy is super important to us. We don't do any advertising. We don't collect any data. We are COPPA compliant. So if you want to read more about it, you can look at the privacy and the terms of conditions in the bottom left of the screen here. There are two modes whiteboard.chat works in. One is a collaboration mode, which is just like any other whiteboard out there where everybody ends up on the same board, but then you can erase each other's work. You can overwrite each other's work. What we are going to talk about primarily today is this teaching mode, where you can create, assign, and live teach individual student boards. You can also create small group boards, which I will show you as well in the demonstration. But essentially, this is the main board we are going to talk about today. So you just get started by clicking this button, start teaching. So you end up on the whiteboard directly. You can start drawing there. You can start typing there anywhere on the screen. It automatically puts a text box where you type. You don't have to pre-create text boxes. You can resize the text boxes too. We recently added speech to text as well, which you can enable or disable through the settings menu here. And if you want to type or speak, it'll do the transcription for you. It'll also translate it into different languages. So like, for example, you can say, hey, I want to talk in Hindi, and I will translate it. It'll get auto translated to English as well. So that helps language learners in general. The main, like the basic tools are in the bottom right here. So you can change the color of the pen, for example, from here to like millions of colors. If you don't like the way the board color changes when you change the color of the pen, you can disable that in the settings as well. Some teachers like it, some don't. You can change the thickness of the pen by using this slider here. So you can make the pen thicker or thinner. You can make it a dotted line even using the button here. You can change the opacity of the pen. So you can make this a highlighter if you want to, like the second slider on the right. And the third slider is for the text size. So if you want to make the text bigger or smaller, you can use the text slider to change the size of the font. Right. And then you can change the font itself by clicking this button. We support 4 different fonts. So you can change the font from there as well. And if you want to save it for a long time, again, you can do all your preferences. You can save in this settings menu here. You can change your default tool if you don't want to accidentally keep drawing. You can change the size of the screen to a different size of the screen, and a lot more different options here. So the way most teachers start with whiteboard.chat is by uploading files. So you can upload files by clicking. So this is the main toolbar on the left. You can click this upload file button. You can upload it from your computer, or you can upload it directly from Google Drive. Right? And we can upload PDFs, you can upload image files, anything that you have. So I'm going to upload a PDF. This PDF has 3 pages, right? So each page in the PDF, so this is page number 1, this is page number 2, right? And then there is page number 3. So each page in the PDF gets converted to a page in whiteboard.chat. If you look at here on the screen, you can see how you can go through the pages, or you can open a thumbnail view as well, where you can do various different actions on those slides that you just uploaded. Now you're prepared for the lesson. This is the most basic way. You just upload existing textbooks or worksheets or slides, and you invite students. So to invite the students, you click this button on the top right. This is an important step. You click the button. You can either have the kids scan the QR code. If you use Google Classroom, you can share directly from here into Google Classroom. Or what most teachers do is they copy this link, the invite link, and they post it in their LMS, right? So the LMS can be, I'll post it for my colleagues to join as students as well. So you can see how they are working through the lesson. And then I'll also paste it on right here. And then I'll open a student window on the side. So you can actually see an incognito window. I can paste the same link that I copied, and that gets in as a student. So when the students join for the first time, they'll be asked for a name. So they can enter their name saying student. right? And then they get a copy of this board, the board that I created on the left. They get a copy and they can start annotating on it, they can start writing on it, they can start typing on it, but they cannot erase any of the work that the teacher is doing. They cannot move any of the objects that the teacher has placed, but they can only erase their own work, or and they cannot even see any other students. They just have a visibility of their own board. They cannot see anybody else. They can work through the lesson at their own pace. If it is not teacher paced, I will show you how to set it to teacher paced. But they can only see their board and they can start annotating right away using the pen or the text tool or any of the other tools that are available to them. And this is the cool thing, that as a teacher, you can go into this thing, the grid view, and you can watch your whole class live as they're working through the lesson, right? You can see, look, Praveen is drawing a heart, Sid is drawing a tree, right? And then this student here, if the student goes to a different page, right, this tile changes to where the student is. So it's a live view of what is going on in the classroom, right, as they're working through the lesson. You can join them on their board. If you see something is going on, you can click the join button from the grid. You can join them one-on-one. You can tell them where to improve. You can say good job, right? Or you can give them stickers. I will show you these as well. We have thousands of stickers and manipulators in here, but you can give them like an emoji or a Valentine's Day sticker, and that's it, right? You can do that from the grid as well. You don't have to join their board, but this is just a way to interact with the students to help them out on a one-on-one basis. So I'll stop here for a second and see if there are any questions I can answer, right?
Yeah, I think there's few questions on features that you will be covering, so maybe you can keep going for now.
Okay. Yeah, so the grid view, you can go back, you can see the students, you can customize the grid view. You can see up to 30 students on the same page, but you can go to multiple pages on the grid view as well. So if you have more than 30 students, you'll see the page number 1, page number 2, and so forth of the grid view. Right? The students can raise their hand if they need help. So they click this power button on the top. They can send 2 types of signals to the teacher saying, hey, I need help. So if the teacher gets a notification, if the teacher clicks it, it'll take them to the student's board, and then again you can interact with them. Or the student can signal to the teacher that I'm done with my work, right? And the teacher can actually do auto corrections. We have auto corrections built into whiteboard.chat as well. But we covered that in our advanced webinars. So we'll not cover that today, but you can trigger that once you have the teacher gets a signal that the student is done with the work. So I'll show you. So this is all you need to know to get started with the whiteboard.chat. You don't need any of the other features I'm going to talk about. So it gets a little bit overwhelming. We understand. We are trying to simplify this toolbar a little bit so it doesn't look so intimidating or overwhelming. But this is all you need to do, right? Like just upload your file, your class, invite the students, and just watch them and join them when they need help. That's all you need to do. That's the basic, right? On the left hand side here is the main toolbar, right, where all the tools reside. You can open this toolbar by clicking this hamburger menu on the top. We recently added the ability to move your favorite tools to the top. So you can pick, hey, I really like my draw tool. I can just click this heart button and it'll put it right at the top. So you don't have to go around searching for it. So you can actually pick the tools that you really like and put them at the top, right? You can do that from tools right here, or even if they're nested deep in the menus. So these are the basic tools. There's a lasso tool, which you can group things together. There's a text tool. You can use an explicit text tool to actually type if you don't want to use a automatically putting text box there. You can use that. There's an eraser. This is an object eraser. So anything that you erase, the whole objects get deleted. You cannot delete parts of the objects. I covered the upload file already, the main tools are in this thing, the wrench here. The most of the tools are here, where you can draw lines, you can draw arrows, you can draw shapes. So you can draw like rectangles, or if you press the shift key down, it'll do squares. You can do circles, right? Some basic, you can fill these with colors as well. There's a select and a crop tool built into whiteboard.chat too. So you can actually say, hey, I really want to keep only this part of the PDF. I don't want the rest of it. You can crop it right inside whiteboard.chat, even if you after you upload it. So that's an easy way to create parts of the lesson.
One
We
quick
have
question, Pawan. When you favorite a tool, will it stay that way when you return to it?
yes. So it gets stored in your browser. Your settings get saved in your browser. So if you favorite a tool, you can use it across different boards, and it'll stay the same. And you can favorite from nested deep in as well. So for example, like I like my yellow post-it or my pink post-it a lot. I can favorite that, right? And then you can see that it comes up right on the top, and I can use that again and again, right? So I don't have to go deep into the toolbar to find the post-it again. There is a rich text editor built in. So if you want to do like longer sentences, longer paragraphs, you can use that to create longer essays, if you will, right? There is a infinite cloner built in. So if you, any object that you draw, or if you have, for example, my post-it note, I can, this is a test, right? So, and then I can use the infinite cloner. If I go here, you can use the infinite cloner to make objects copies. All of these are for creating lessons that students have much easier way to interact with these things. You can create external links. So you can create a link to an external website, or you can create a link to a page in the book. So if you want the students to directly jump to page number 5, you can create a page number link, or you can create a link to an external website, and it will show up as a link here. I can show you. So if I create a link to Google, I can enter the address, and it will show up on this screen. And when the students click it, it will directly take them to the Google website on a different tab, and then they can close the tab and get back to whiteboard.chat as well. And there is a way to embed YouTube videos. There's a dice here as well. This dice is an older version of the dice. We recommend you use the newer dice, which I will show you in the widgets as well. But the students can see it, they can interact with it as well. So that's useful. And there is you can hide the dice back from here. You can embed YouTube videos. So if you have a YouTube video, for example, you can go to YouTube and you can just pick a video, for example. And then you can put the link to the YouTube video here. You can also specify the time that you want to start the video, from 10 seconds to 25 seconds. So kids don't have to watch the whole thing. They can just watch that duration of the video. It automatically strips out the ads as well. So they just get to watch that video from starting from 10 seconds on to 25 seconds, which is useful too. Right on the page, right? There is a external website you can embed in here too. People have embedded all kinds of websites onto here. You can embed a website which has Google slides or PowerPoints, links to that. You can embed that inside whiteboard.chat too. So students can watch the Google slides right from within whiteboard.chat without leaving the thing. There's a compass built in. There's a math editor built in. So the math editor is quite powerful. A lot of teachers use this to teach math, right? You can do all kinds of different equations. You can do a lot of different kind of equations here. On the 3 dots menu here, we have a really extensive help. So if you go to help here, you can see a downloadable teacher's guide, a student guide, a math input guide. So the math input guide has all of the equations right? Or you can do quadratic equations, polynomials, fractions. So it gives you examples how do you want to type out integrals, trigonometry, all of these things, right? So that's super useful too. Then we have calculators built in as well. So we have a basic calculator which you can watch as the students are working in their lessons, right? You can watch them in the grid view. Again, you can customize all of this for the students. So you can say, hey, students see very simple tools or they don't see any of the tools. You can hide the number of tools that the kids get to see. We recommend that when you start using whiteboard.chat for the first time, you check mark this one. Students see very simple tools, right? So the students on the left side will only see 4 or 5 tools, right? They don't see most of the tools in there. So that's super helpful for younger kids or people who are just starting to use whiteboard.chat.
Thanks for some questions.
Yes, yes.
Could you show again how you got into the get in and out of the grid view?
Sure. So to click the grid view, there's this button on the bottom here which says grid view. You just click that, it takes you into the grid view and you can see the students. You can customize the grid view by clicking this gear next to it, how many rows, how many columns you want on the grid view.
Cool. Are students able to continue working later, either independently or next day in groups?
Yes, the students, as long as they click the same link. So if I were to click, so they don't need to save their board. They don't even need to log in, right? So if I were to close this incognito browser and then come back the next day and click the same link that I had, you can continue doing the work on that same board that you were on, whether it was a group board or an individual board. It'll take them exactly back to where they were, right, to their own lesson. That's super useful. The teacher can lock the board so that they don't have access if you're doing assessments or if you want to have a teacher-led, teacher-paced activity, then you can lock it or you can do, I will show you that in a second as well.
Okay. How many students can you see live at the same time?
So you can see up to 30 students. We can do a grid of 6 by 5 on the same board, and you can do multiple pages too. So some teachers, this is on a given browser. So if you have a bigger screen or if you have multiple monitors, you can actually do 2 grid views side by side on different pages. So you can go up to 60 students too.
Great. Are you able to share a student board with the class?
Yes, so you can showcase student board. So let's say that some sub kid is doing a really good job. And you want to show like Praveen's work to the rest of the class. You can say, you can showcase his work. You can just go to the grid and then everybody gets to see Praveen's work, right? It's anonymous, so you don't know whose work is being shared. So there's no name of on the student and they can talk about it. You can showcase multiple students' work by clicking this avatar menu here. You can say, hey, I want to compare and contrast Praveen's work and Sid's work, right? So you can click both of them and then you will see both their boards on side by side, right? So they can compare and contrast, but again, it's anonymous. You don't know whose board it is and whose work is being shown. And if you want to turn the showcasing off, you click this icon here and it'll take everybody back to their individual boards.
A couple of questions about the board links. One is what is the use of posting a link in the Google Classroom? How do teachers use it?
So most teachers, what they do is they put this invite link as an assignment in Google Classroom or their LMS, right? You put this, take this as link and put this as an assignment. And when students join, they just click that link and it'll create a board for them, right? So they can start working on it at that point.
Cool. And then if you log out of Zoom, the other board saved, and how do the students access the board? How does the teacher access the board?
Right. So all of the work that is being done in whiteboard.chat is all getting saved in the cloud. Right. This is the only reason teachers need to create an account. So if I were to say, well, it's Feb 24th already. Okay, so I say today is Feb 24th. Right. I can name the board something. And if I go to my manage boards here on the top, You can see all of the boards, my work, all of the students' work getting saved automatically in the cloud, right? The students can get back to it by clicking the link in their LMS, like I was saying earlier, or the teacher can actually go look at this. So there's the Feb 24th, and all of the work that all the students were doing is all getting saved. You can see, go back to the board by clicking this eye icon. It'll take you back to your board. There is an expiry date associated, 2 weeks expiry date that is associated with each board, but you can easily extend that. So you can just click this clock icon and it'll extend it by a month. Right? So that's easy to extend. And then you can see our community boards in this manage boards area as well. So if you look at the community boards, you can see other teachers. There are about 150 different boards across grade levels, across geographies that people have shared. So you can actually see how people use it. Use whiteboard.chat.
So students and teachers don't need to explicitly save their boards, correct?
Yes, nobody needs to save their work, save their board. All of the work that the students are doing or teachers are doing gets saved automatically.
Great. But can they get copies of these boards in any other form?
Yeah, so you can download the boards as PDFs, right? You can download, as a teacher, you can download the whole class as a PDF. You can download reports, which tells you when did the student, it's an engagement report. It tells you when did the student join, when did they, how much time were they idle, how much time were they working, how many objects did they put on the screen. So and then auto correction scores as well. So that's super interesting. It just downloads in a comma separated file. So you can import that into Excel or Google Sheets or wherever else you want to. You can also share. So if you go to this manage book, you can send a copy to co-teachers, teachers in your school. Like if you want to share it with other teachers, this just creates a copy of your instructor board. None of your students or your work gets transferred there. They get a copy that they can use to teach. Right? You can publish this to the community. You can save a copy for yourself. So if you are teaching the multiple sections, section A and section B, section C, you can save multiple copies as well. And if you want to store this board for longer term, like next year, next calendar year, you can export it. So you just click this export button and it will export the board to your hard drive to your computer, and you can save it on Google Drive or wherever. And at a future time, you can import that back into whiteboard.chat too. So then you can save it forever.
Thanks, ma'am. And so do the students need to enter anything other than their name? Do they need to create accounts? How does that work?
No, students don't need to create an account. They don't even need to use their real name. You can force them to log in. So some high school teachers do that. There's a setting in the gear menu which says only logged in users can join board. So you can force the students to log in with a Google ID, right, or a validated email, and then they cannot change their name. Then you exactly know who they are, right? So that's another option here.
Great. And regarding the set of tools available to the students, is there a way to block certain tools from the students, like the calculator?
Yeah. So you can customize, like I said, you start with very simple tools. So they don't even have the toolbar. You see, there's no wrench here. So they don't have the wrench at all. But you can customize it to the nth level. You can say customize menu options for kids, where you can take out like all the things that you don't want. If you don't want them to have calculators or dice or pointers, you can turn that off from here as well. You can also fix their font size, their brush color, and their brush size, so they don't have access to changing colors or changing the brush size or font size on their own.
And when you showcase the students' names, the names were not visible, but otherwise the teacher can still see their names. Is that right?
Yeah, the teacher can always see the name, so you can see this and this in the grid view. You can see who's the student, what board are they on, what are they doing.
Great. And do the teachers have to create an account, and do they need to pay anything?
There's no, it's a free service. We don't charge anything for teachers. You don't have to create an account. The only reason you want to create an account is to either see the community boards or save your work. If you don't create an account, your work will be lost once you stop using it.
Right. And how much cloud space does the teacher get?
Right now, we don't limit it. We should. It costs us money. So right now, there is no limitation. We may add a limitation of number of boards in the future, but right now it's not limited.
Okay. Thanks, Pranav. You can keep going now.
Right. So, and we recently added the Microsoft Immersive Reader as well. The Immersive Reader works really nicely with uh, not only with PDF but text. So you can actually use that on the student side as well as on the teacher side to read text in Immersive Reader. Another cool thing that we added was that you can actually edit the Immersive Reader text. So the kids can have access if the PDF is not scanned properly or there's something that you don't want to be read, you can edit that out, and then it'll only read the sections that uh, you want the kids to read. Again, it can be disabled from the settings menu as well. Right. There are more things here. There's a tile factory which you can, so you can generate manipulators. Again, this is something that we cover in our advanced session, but I will just quickly show you how this works. So I can create cards, flashcards, or matching pairing cards in here. Right. So I can say 4 plus 2 is 6, 4 plus 4 is 8. You can say make matching cards and students can move. Right. And it'll make these cards for me. And if the students pick the right cards, right, on their side, so if the student picks this card and this card, it disappears. So it's a really cool way to, and you can put numbers there, alphabets there, pictures there, anything that you want. So you can make really cool flash cards with this tile factory. We have a form factory as well, which we recently added. So we can actually create, oh, let me clear the screen first. So you can add questions. You can say, do you understand? And then you can say radio button yes, radio button no, and you can create forms really easily, right? So that the students get their forms and they can just pick the answer and submit it, and then you can see across the class if you click the results. Right? What happened? So if you click the results, it should come up. So one thing that yeah, there you go. So you can actually see how the kids responded, what percentage of the kids responded in what fashion. And you can hide the student names if you want to show the results share the results with the class. So the names will not be shown and you can see what the students responded with. So that's super interesting. There are ways to do student signals. So this is another cool feature that teachers use around the world, where you can put a stoplight or a thumb to get a pulse of the class. You can put a stoplight on a page, right? And then you can go to the grid view and you can ask the students, hey, how well do you understand the lesson? And they can say, oh, I don't understand, or I have a really good understanding. And you get a full pulse of the class right from the grid view. So you can use that from that perspective as well. Right? You can go back to your single view. Then you can do a lot other things in here. You have a pointer. I like the snake pointer. This is my, so if you want to highlight a certain section, you want to tell the kids where things are, you can use this multicolored snake. There's also a boring stoplight there as well. So if you want to use that instead, you can use that. There's a text box. So for the younger kids, you can actually use a text box. There's a table factory. There's a text box. The text box allows you to do auto corrections as well. So you can just put a text box there. You can add answers and points to it saying, hey, this is worth 1 point. The right answer is ABC, right? And then when the kids get it, they can type the answers in the text box. You can put this on top of PDFs or wherever. And when they finish, they can raise their hand saying, hey, I finished my work. And the teachers can go and autocorrect at that point, right? Not only that student's work, but all the students' work as well. So you can do that too. And then I think that, so you can also autocorrect a single board. So if I were to autocorrect only the student's work, you can autocorrect that from here as well. Right? So you can see that it corrects the work, it tells them the score and tells them the answer is right. So you get instant feedback with the text box. There's a similar thing we added called a drop zone, where you can not only with text but even with objects, drag and dropable objects, manipulators, you can do auto correction using this drop zone, which is, we have a video on our YouTube channel you can watch. You can write software in whiteboard.chat too. So there's a coding box that you can put, which is quite interesting. If I may say so myself, right? So if it is, let me see if I have found file. All right, never mind. Again, there's a video. I don't want to waste everybody's time, but you can actually do robotics, basic coding with robotics and stuff like that with this in the programming text box too. And we have music instruments built in. So we have a really cool xylophone, and you can play music in here directly. The kids get to see it too. And then we also have a 2-octave piano built in. So you can use that with the keyboard or play music right here as well. So again, I'll stop for a second and see if there are any questions, Sid.
Yes. How when you enable the snake pointer, how do you switch it off?
So you could just go to some other tool. It will vanish in 5 seconds. So if you stop moving it, it will vanish by itself. But if you go to some other tool, it will just go away. Well, the easiest way to remember to go back to your default tool is press escape. If you press escape at any time, it will take you back to your default tool, which you can set here. The default tool by itself is the brush because it's a whiteboard, right? But if you want to change it to some other tool, you can just change it from there, and that becomes your default tool.
How can students leave?
They just close the browser and they can leave.
Right. Is there a way to remove students from the classroom as well?
Yes, so you can actually click this 3 dots menu and say open class boards. And here you can see the whole class. You can quickly browse through the whole class here too. Right? So if you don't want to go through the grid view, you can go jump to somebody's page and quickly walk through and give them stickers or whatever else that you want to. You can do that from here. You can kick students out from here as well. You can just click the delete student and we'll kick them out. You can lock a particular student as well. So you can lock them completely. So if they're doing something and that you don't want them to do, you can just lock them out so they don't have ability to write here.
Cool. Is there any documentation on how to put the forms and cards together, especially the specific language needed to define them?
It's in here, right in here. I think we do have help, but I think the doc it tells you what it is. Again, we have videos too, but we can do better. I think the problem is that our software is faster than our help, so the help catches on in a couple of weeks, right? And we were discussing today how to fix that, but because teachers need these tools right away, so we actually cater to their needs. So the help will come. But again, reach out to us if anytime if you have questions or comments or if you have confused, we'll easily create videos or documentation and share with everybody so that it benefits everybody.
Great. How can a teacher write or create content without it appearing on the student's board?
That's a good question. So like basically whatever the teacher is doing on their board, you can see it appears live on the student's board. But if you go to this 3 dots menu here as well, you can say toggle replication to students. So what that does is that any objects like the stars I'm drawing do not go to the student board, right? So you can actually use that for demonstration or you can do it for your own board. And then remember to turn this off because any objects you put there, even background PDFs or images, they won't go to the student board. So you can turn that off. And then when you start writing again, and now the new stuff will start going to the things. And these stars never go there, right? Because those were marked as do not duplicate. But if you move them or you if you move them a little bit or change them a little bit, then they show up. Any more questions?
Yeah, I think
I have a
there's just
question.
another. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Can students share their board with another student?
I'd request you to please answer, type your questions on Zoom because we have a lot of people and they cannot. So the students cannot share each other's board. Uh, they, if they try to share, it will take them back to their board automatically. So even if they were able to share this link, it will take them back to their board instead of going to that student's board.
One question, very interesting one. Can I create a name for my link to the whiteboard? I teach elementary school, and my password for my Zoom account is an easy word for students to remember.
Um, so you're saying instead of the class code here, we can look into that. We don't have a way to create it right, but we can add a way to say you can create your own class code.
Cool. There's a question about group board, but I'm sure you're going to get to that.
Yeah, so I'm going to cover some of the other features and then quickly jump into the group board. So here on the top here, you can see there are different types of grids also which are built in. So this big grid is useful. There's a regular grid. There's a big grid. This big grid is useful for doing math type of activities. It's like you can navigate around using arrow keys. So you can do. The kids can just type in there very easily. Right? There is a college line grid, which is really looks like a notebook. There's a coordinate plane built in, so you can actually draw different types of coordinate planes. Like you can do quadrant spelling still wrong, but you can do different type of coordinate planes in here as well. There's a music sheet built in. Now you can use this in conjunction with our palettes. So to get to our palettes, you click this button here, the palette button. And then you can see all of our manipulators. So there's manipulators about math, manipulators for younger kids, right? So which has symbols they can just drag and drop or put on the canvas, right? There is, like for example, there's long division sign, there's simple fractions, there's mixed fractions, uh, different math symbols in here. There's music symbols, right? This is, you can use it for music theory, for example, right? So it's super easy to teach music theory, right, to kids. There are letters of the alphabet. So there's capital letters, there's numbers, there's magnetic letters in two colors, right? So you can actually have, you can do word constructions using these. Again, you can use the tile factory to create your own manipulators as well. If you don't like any of these, you can create those. There's phonogrammic tiles already in here, right? So you can use those. There is math manipulators. So there's like 100 blocks, 10 blocks. Again, you can use them for auto correction as well, which we recently added, which is cool. So you can actually have kids use these to create numbers and then auto correct them. We have algebraic tiles, we have protractors, we have rulers. So, and it literally takes us like 10 minutes to add new manipulators in here. So if something is missing, you can add it on your own. You can add things to your own library by just right clicking and saying add to manipulators, or we can add it for you. We have 3D shapes, right? We have all kinds of 3D shapes in here. We have, let me clear this, there's too much stuff. Right, so we have reward stickers, currencies like US currency, currencies from around the world, UK, EU, AU, Canadian, Malaysian, Indian, Chinese. We recently added, on teachers' requests, we added like experiments like beakers and test tubes and stuff. We have electrical circuit construction stuff. So all kinds of different subjects, really. Right? We have chemistry, like we have atom construction, molecule constructions for different things. We have a periodic table in here. Right? We have robots that you can actually use. You can program these robots using the programming language thing I was talking about, the coding box. That's super interesting. We have different languages. We have animal stickers. So we have cute animal stickers here. And any of these objects that you have on the screen, you can animate them as well. So you can actually have animations where they walk around or they rotate or they do both. So it's interesting. You can do that not only with these objects, but your own drawings and stuff like that too. We have Valentine's. We do seasonal stickers, like we have Chinese New Year stickers here, Valentine's stickers here. We have thinking maps in here as well. So we have like Freer models, Venn diagrams. Again, all requested by teachers, right? We have widgets. So we have widgets, like, let me clear this. So we have programmable widgets, which are super easy. So like, for example, there's a clock widget you can use to tell time, right? You can use it in geared mode or non-geared mode. There's a spinner, there's a programmable skip spinner. You can just click this icon here, and then you can put whatever you want, numbers or alphabets or digits. You can set it up for students can spin. So you can use it for group boards, group games, right? And you can watch it as it goes. There's a auto spinner that we recently added, where actually the student names are populated automatically, whoever are the participants on the board. So you can actually pick students using the student spinner really easily. And there's a dice, which is by default fractional dice, but you can change it to have digits, alphabets, numbers, whatever else you would want, right? So it's super easy to use as well. I think, let me stop again for a second and see if there are questions. Otherwise, I'll show you the group boards next.
Yes, Pawan. So there's one question about if someone wanted to use the infinite cloner tool with the math blocks, could you show them how to do that?
Yeah, so let me do the group activity. I'll show you that in that.
Perfect.
So there are timers built in here. So for example, there's a timer built in. You can just have a timer started, which starts on everybody's board. You can actually have a different type of timer that starts only when the students log in, right? So if you want to do an asynchronous timed activity, you can use that. And you can auto lock the board when the timer expires, so they don't have ability to keep watching it. So most of the other tools are in this avatar menu. So if you click this here, you can make somebody a co-teacher. So if you want to have a co-teacher and they want to have access to the grid view, ability to join boards, ability to annotate, you can make somebody a co-teacher very easily. Right? So I can make this person a co-teacher, right? You can see that now they have the ability over the grid view, and then you can take that back as well by undoing teacher. You can call individual students. You can do a voice and a screen share call right from here. You can click this button, it'll call the students. You can set this to follow teacher mode, so teacher paste. So you can just click this. So if we are on page 1, all the kids are on page 1. If you go to page 2, everybody goes to page 2. If you go to page 3, everybody goes to page 3. So you can set it to teacher paste, and the students cannot change. You can lock the entire class. You can, if you lock the class, the students cannot annotate on it. You can put answer keys there. You can do corrections there. They still have read-only access, so they can still see it, but they won't be able to change anything. We have a chat built in as well, so which is a really cool chat. So you can actually do, it's a one-to-many chat. So whatever the teacher types goes to all the students, and whatever the students type only goes back to the teacher. But the recipient of the chat can select the chat language. So they can say, hey, I don't understand English. I want to change my language to Spanish. And the chat gets translated live into that language, whatever the teacher types, right? And the students cannot chat with each other, but they can chat in groups. If you create a group board, they can chat with each other only in that condition.
Can you chat with one specific student though?
Yes, if you join a student's board, it automatically makes you chat with that student on that board. But you can, even from the top of the class, you can say, see here, it says recipients whole class. You can select a subset of the students. If you just want to talk to 1 or 2 students, you can do that from here as well. If you join their board and you're working one-on-one with them, then it automatically defaults to just chatting with that student. So I'll create a group board. So there are multiple ways to create group boards. Again, this is from the avatar menu. You can press the group board button. You can say, hey, I want a group which has 5 students in it, or 2. Let's say I just want a group. This is the easiest way. I want to auto create a group with 3 students in the group, right? Or you can pick and select students from here. and move them to the right, the students that you want to be part of the group, and give the group a name like blue and create group, right? Now what that happens is that everybody moves over to the blue group, right? Now the students are on the blue group and they can interact with each other. So Sid and Praveen should be part of the same group, right? So you can see that the group, the students can play with each other. If I had dice in here, or if I had spinners in here, they can play bump games, they can do activities together. But even on the group board, the students cannot erase each other's work, right? They can only erase their work, they cannot erase each other's work. And as a teacher, you can join the group board, right? And you can actually see who wrote what, right? So you can actually, even on the group board, you have more control to say, hey, this was written by Sid, this was written by Praveen. So you can actually see who wrote what on the group boards, which is super useful. And the students can not erase each other's work even on the group boards. But when they're in a group setting, then they can use the chat to talk to each other, right? And again, it'll translate it live, but they can chat with each other on the group boards. And a copy.
Pawan, as a teacher, how did you see the group board?
So as a teacher, you can just click this eye icon and then it'll take you to the group board. On the grid view, you can also set, this is also cool. So on the grid view, if you want to go here, you can say, I only want to see groups. You can select this thing we call the board browser. You can say, I only want to see group boards only. So it will not show you individual boards and you can only see the group boards there. That's also useful. Again, there are so many different ways of doing things here. You don't have to understand all of them. They're all requested by teachers. They come from different backgrounds. So that's why it's like that. And once you're done with the group activity, again, you go back to the avatar menu. You can click this trash icon. It doesn't delete the group board. It'll put it back in the storage. So, but it'll send all the kids back to their individual boards so that they can go back. And then you can see that they're back to their individual boards on the top.
And when you add students to the group, do they automatically get forced into the group, or
Yes.
do they have any option?
They are forced into the group, but they do have an option to go back to their individual boards if they have to. And you can pre-create groups before the lesson starts too. So you don't have to do it when the students join. You can tell them upfront that you are part of this group and this is the group you want to join. Okay, so I think we are almost out of time. So what I'll do is I'm going to create a new board, a bingo board. This is a special way of creating a board in whiteboard.chat. And I'll invite you guys to join us in that. So there's an animal. There are ways to create these bingo tiles online. What that does is that each bingo tile is a separate page in the PDF, right? And then you can tell whiteboard.chat that I'm uploading this special thing from the manage book, upload bingo, right? And when you specify the file, it'll assign a random page out of that file to each and every student, right? So I'll create this bingo board here. I'll also, I think somebody was asking, how do you create students can clone? So I'll show you that as well. So I'll put, let's put animals, too many animals. Okay, let's put a manipulators. So you can put like 100 block, maybe, right? And then I can say, you can resize it. The move and resize is your buddy. You should use that tool as your default. And then you can right click and say students can clone, right? You can say students can clone or students can move. And then when the students go to this page, so if I copy this invite link, right, I can make the student go to this page. Use the move tool. So when you move the move tool, you can just make copies of that really easily. You don't need to use the infinite cloner. It'll just make copies of that object really easily. And you can try it out now as I'm going to paste this in the Zoom chat. So if you click that link, it'll take you to the bingo board. You'll have limited set of tools because this is what I have set. There's a way to add media using your webcam. You can add audio video using your webcam as well, or take photos and insert it onto your board as well from there. So I'll pause here for a second and see if people have questions. And you can see as people are joining.
So, Pawan, how can you view the past group boards, even if teachers have, the students have left the group?
So you can go back to your manage board. So if you go back to your manage board, you can see all of the work gets saved in the manage boards automatically. So if I were to go back to that Feb 24th one. So you see that this is the group blue. You can see that board is there and you can join it and see the contents of that board at any time.
Great. Can the teacher set up the groups ahead of time?
Yes, you can do groups ahead of time. Again, we covered that in our advanced webinar, or there's a video specifically for that on our YouTube channel. We can post a link if you, or we can give you a link after the session. Yeah.
Okay, there's one request about, is there a feature where a teacher can see, and the teacher and the student can see each other while working on the whiteboard as well?
You can see the student screen. You cannot see the student themselves. You can do a video call for the whole class, just like it's like Zoom or if you're a small class, you can use that. It has a built-in video calling feature, just like Zoom or Google Meet. Any other questions?
Is there a link where the teachers can practice before actually trying out in the classroom?
Yeah, so just like what I'm doing here, I recommend you do the same, right? You create one browser window where it's the teacher board and you open an incognito window. So if you have Chrome, you can go here and say you open new incognito window and that becomes the student. So just paste the invite link. So invite link from here into here, and then you can just do that, use that as your pretend student. If you want more pretend students, we'd be happy to work with you. We love to work with teachers. We learn from teachers anyway. So if you want, and then there are people on the Facebook group who are always pairing up and creating these play dates to play around with whiteboard.chat too.
And the teachers can also save copies of their boards. So even if if you want to keep one original for your classroom, you can always use the other ones for practice and so on.
Yeah, so most teachers, what they do is once they create a book, either they download it, export it, and save it on their drive, or they make a copy as a base template so that they can keep using it again and again.
Could you show them the menu option where they can share the copy with the teacher and save a copy and so on?
Yeah, here. So if you go to manage book, you can say send a copy. It will create a link and you just email that link to your fellow teachers. And when they click it, it will create a copy for them. Right. And here is the same place where you can save a copy or export the board. And then of course you can put this back up there if you want to.
How can students change their names?
So if you just click, if the students are not logged in, they have the ability to click this and change their name. Right? But if they force them to log in, then they don't have ability to change their name. But even if they change the names, if somebody is misbehaving and you want to know who that is, it's very easy for us to figure out what was their earlier name and what is their newer name. We can probably add that into whiteboard as well.
Yeah, could you repeat the showcase of multiple students again, please?
Sure. So if I go back to my book, so I'm going to showcase live on the session that you guys are on Zoom. So you will see it too. So if I, let's say, pick, I don't want to pick, let me pick this person, name is student. Right. So you can showcase the student's work. So you can see now everybody can see, should be able to see the work that I was doing. And you can do multiple students. You can pick another student and do a side-by-side comparison as well. I think showcase, sometimes it gets stuck for teachers if this showcase dialog goes away somewhere, right? You can hide it. So there's a way to unshowcase students from the same menu itself. So you can just go back to the avatar menu and you can unshowcase a student from there too if you want to. And remember, if you get stuck, use a refresh liberally. That helps get out of most situations, and all your work is always saved. So use that refresh button because it requires very little bandwidth, but it requires a connection to the cloud at all times. So if it lose the connection, things start behaving weirdly. So if you refresh, then it will come back. So I'm going to stop the recording because we are all at the top of the hour. I wanted to thank you guys. Like I said, we'll be here 30 more minutes, but I'm just going to stop the recording for now.